Hello there, and welcome to Find Your Voice, the show where we interview thought leaders and experts in various different fields and sectors to find out their insights and expertise. And today we have two wonderful guests. Makes a change from just the one. We've got Michael Vors and his lovely daughter Vanessa, and they are the inventor and the co-inventor, I guess, and a duo and wonderful team that have invented liquid jazz, all about wine. And you guys fill me in. Let's hear about it. It sounds lovely.
Yeah, no, it's a new product we came up with and I came up with. And we got our patent on it last June. So we're 1 year into our patented product. And they haven't given out patents in the decanter world in many, many, many years. So it was very exciting when the patent office reached out back to us and said, yes, you have it. And the basic premise of it is the rocking. The rocking process is what makes the big difference in the wine. 25 years ago, I started making homemade wine. And one of the problems we had was, you need to open wine, an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours ahead of time for wine to open up and release all the negative gases that were in the bottle. We'd have events and family and friends come over. And the problem we had was I'd open a couple bottles and then more and more people would show up. And now you're opening fresh bottles and you're not drinking the same wine. So this is how I started trying to come up with an idea of how to change that. And this is what we came up with.
That's interesting. That's fascinating. And can you guys tell us a little bit about that kind of very first wine night and how did those evenings feel like and how did you kind of set the stage for it all?
Yeah, the first year I made wine, I made it at a friend's house with his dad. His dad was in his 70s at the time and he had brought this process over with him when he came in from Italy. It was pressing time and I went over to visit. I'm like, oh my God, this is so much fun. We were at the house and, wine and cheese and they're pressing and you're drinking last year's wine and just sitting around the table telling stories. And it's like, man, this is so awesome. So his dad said, well, if you want to make it, you've got another week of grape availability for the wine grapes because you pretty much have 4 to 5 weeks and that's it. Once they're ready to be harvested, they're harvested. And so I made my first, was a Zinfandel with them and it came out nice. So I was sharing it and then a couple of friends said, hey, let's do this on our own. So I bought some equipment to make the wine. And the first year we got together and we really had no idea. It seems so much simpler when you do it with somebody who knows what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't. So we just bought the grapes and we figured we'd crush them. Well, what was supposed to be, an hour and a half, 2-hour event was 7 hours because we were not doing it correctly. And then we got all the crushed grapes into the fermentation barrels and we were ready, put the yeast in and got it all set and then went upstairs and figured out, take care of itself. And the next morning I go downstairs and there's billions of fruit flies. So I called my friend Tony and said, I don't know what I did wrong. There's a billion fruit flies. He goes, well, how did they get underneath the cover you have over the must? I went, you didn't tell me it had to be covered. He goes, oh yeah, if you don't cover, you're going to get a billion fruit flies. I said, well, that's what I have. We just continue the process. And once you finish crushing, you let it ferment in the barrels and then you go into the pressing stage and we pressed it. And then now all the juice goes into the carboys and you let it age in there a little bit. And then all the sediment settles to the bottom of the carboy. And then we just siphon off the clean wine. And that's how you get the clarity. So you just keep siphoning. And we just stuck a siphon in the tube, started the siphon. We had them up on a rack and you just pour it into the next container. Well, as we're pouring, we're filling glasses and we're drinking. And one of Nessa's friends happened to come out from Worcester this night. It happened to be a Thursday night. And he came out. And so we're downstairs. There was Kenny, Gary, myself, and then Scott stopped by. So, we drink it. And it's very fresh. It's only been crushed now for, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks. When you're doing this, maybe a month.
Right.
And we had more than we should have, but you don't really notice it because it's very fresh, juicy tasting.
I'm sure. No, I'm sure. Well, I think we're all a bit guilty of that. So Vanessa, how did you get involved? I understand you're very much an integral part of the business.
Well, I was a part of the first wine process, which was the most difficult, but probably the most fun year. And then that night that my father's talking about, my friend called me on his way home and he said, listen, if I get pulled over, just so you know, it's because I stopped by to visit your father. But the following week, At the time, my father had a paint store. The following week, he miraculous needed paint again, and he stopped down on that Thursday again, and that's how it started. Early wine nights were just other winemakers and mostly all male, except for me. I'd stop down, Mike's daughter, say hi to everybody, go home. But one week, one of the winemakers who happened to be female, her hairdresser followed her to wine night. And when the wives caught wind that there were other ladies down at wine night, it became unisex and much better.
I'm sure very quickly, I bet. Yeah.
To more of like a social thing. It was winemakers. They used to share their tips and tricks and just kind of get away for the night. And then it became a social gathering not too long after that.
No, for sure. That's great. And yeah, it looks very interesting contraptions. You know, Michael, I'm more than happy if you want to share, you know, get a bit of example demonstration of how it all works. If you you want to give it a go so we can see.
So we're going to do a bottle of Josh. You know, so in the stores, it's anywhere from $15.99 to $20.99. So it's a relatively, you know, reasonably priced wine. What we usually do is we like doing the taste comparison. So to see how it changes from the before and after. Mm-hmm. So what we will do is we'll pour a little out first just to have the before. And then we just pour it into the decanter. And, you know, the decanting process is not new. I mean, this has been done for years and years and years, but decanting is actually, by definition, you see I'm pouring, and on the neck of the bottle right here, you have this little belly right here. And as you're pouring the wine, there should be a light underneath here, but this bottle's clear enough. And you just watch, and as the sediment starts to collect there, before the sediment starts coming out, you stop. So sometimes you might leave a few sips in. That's actually decanting. Right now, technically, the decanting process is over. Now we're just going to aerate it and open it up. So most of the decanters themselves that are out there now, you just pour the wine in and you let it sit for anywhere from half hour to 5 hours. It depends on the wine. But with the Liquid Jazz rocking decanter now, what we've done is develop the steps on each side of the decanter. So we do this for 4 minutes, and in 4 minutes, we reach what normally takes anywhere from a half hour to 5 hours.
Some wines people will leave out overnight.
Wow, that's amazing.
We've tested it, and a lot of winemakers have tried it. And some of the wines that they've left out overnight, they feel it's achieved the same level of aeration in the 4 minutes in my father's decanter. So
that's fantastic.
It's been neat.
Yes. And it's a nice little piece you could have in a restaurant. Sorry to interrupt. You could have that in a restaurant on the table, you know, where everyone's eating. It looks great, you know, and it's
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, no, we're very happy the way the design came out. You know, we obviously, when you're coming up with something new, trial and error, trial and error, trial and error.
Yes.
The launch company that I was using, they kept going to a round looking decanter.
Right.
And every time I go in, I'm going, why do you keep doing this round? And they're like, well, we're doing the research and we can't find anything out there that's not round. And I'm like, well, that's why I don't want round. You know, and with the rocking, round doesn't work well with the rocking. So I needed more of the rectangular shape. You know,
no, the good thing is it's not splashing, is it? It's got a moving and it's flowing within the correct kind of motion, shall I say? I don't know what the word would be, but it's not splashing everywhere and disrupting.
Correct. And that was the other thing I wanted. There are a few other electronic type devices out there, but they just beat the wine. They just pound it all over it.
Yeah.
My friend Tony's dad, who was the one that taught me to make wine, grew up as a child with wine. My friend Tony, that's all he knew was homemade wine. And one of the wine nights, Mr. Staffia Ercolino was there, and we were doing the racking, and he's standing there waiting to get his glass filled. And Kenny, the guy that was doing the racking at the time, you know, puts his thumb on, stops the siphon, puts a little in his glass, and then as he's resiphoning, he spills a little bit, and it's like maybe a sip. And Mr. Staffia, he slams his hand on the table and says, if you don't respect the wine, don't make it.
Yeah.
And there was silence there. I'm like, I've always kept that in mind to respect the wine. This is, you know, it's a natural product. I mean, it's grown on the vines and, you know, and we're lucky to turn it into something that's enjoyable. And, you know, you can have events and family and friends around it. It's pretty much just the enjoying of the wine. So that's why the design was, you know, all you need is like that would be one. This is one rock,
Yeah.
two rocks. So that would be, you only need 14 of those a minute. So it could be nice and gentle. Let the wine roll gently up and down the ridges, the steps. As you can see on the bottom, there's steps.
Yeah.
On the bottom. So it's the wine that's rolling up and down the steps and the volume size that we have here that allows the sulfites to dissipate, the alcohol smell dissipate, and softens the acidity level and the tannins. So that's pretty much what Decanter does. We just can do it now in 4 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things is obviously the invention is always normally like quite a technical process, but what role did, because you've spoken a little bit about the friends and people, you know, the community and the storytelling play a part in shaping the design?
Yeah, well, we got together on the first prototype that I had made. I came up with the idea, just drew it on a piece of paper, and there's a gentleman I know that owns a sheet metal shop. So I took it down and I said, look, can you just bend this? I didn't have the steps on the side. I just had peaks and valleys on the bottom of this thing. And we got together one night and there was 6 of us there that night. And I said, look, I have this idea. I haven't tried it yet. We're going to try it. And lo and behold, it worked. So everybody's like, you have to do this. You have to do this. And and like millions of people out there, we all have great ideas. It's just, most of us don't act on it, but
exactly.
That's kind of pushed me a little bit. And she says, you've had all these ideas, you're retired now, we got a little bit put aside. She says, why don't you just try it? And yeah, we went ahead with doing it. And sure enough, here it is.
And what would you say is the kind of goal and vision for the brand, like in the next kind of year? What would you hope to see, and ideally where do you want to take it next?
Yeah, obviously the first goal is to keep selling.
Yes.
But what I really hope it is it's more of a community thing, a friendship thing with the wine. We're getting a lot of positive feedback of people who just enjoy the rocking process. They said it's calming. It's very, settles you down. I'd like somebody to want a glass of wine, not to say, oh, I need a glass of wine type thing. It's not, I'd like a glass of wine. I'd like it to taste to its full potential.
Yeah.
And I'd love to share, you might want to have it alone, and you can. If you do this alone, like what we'll do when we finish, is I'm just going to take a funnel and pour it back in the bottle, but now it's ready to drink. So if you have, the airlocks or just the special corking processes that they have, you're going to get 2 or 3 days with this set up like that. Or, if somebody, stops in just spontaneously, the doorbell rings and somebody shows up, it's like, oh, hey, Joe, I haven't seen you in a while. How's things going? Good. Come on in. Let's have a glass of wine. Well, now in 4 minutes, and you can chit chat while you're rocking it. It's not like you have to go in the back room.
Yeah.
But I really like the brand to be, when somebody says liquid jazz, that means it's kind of a calm down time, a relaxing time. And wine is just a part of that whole thing. That's what I would really like.
For sure. That sounds great. I think that's what we all need these days, especially with everything that's going on. Everyone's stressed. Everyone's got concerns about their work life, AI coming into everything we're doing. And I think people just need that community kind of come down time, especially at the weekends where they can get together. And if it's over a glass of wine, then it is what it is. And I think that's a perfectly great way of showcasing a wonderful product and bringing people together. So wonderful. Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, guys, where do we find out more about the product?
So our website is liquidjazzexperience.com. Currently on social media, we are on Facebook and Instagram, also at Liquid Jazz Experience, and email mike@liquidjazzexperience.com. We'll get directly to this guy right here, and sometimes me. So yeah, that's how you can find us.
Fantastic. Well, restaurant owners and bar owners, watch this space, because I think this could be a very important part of the, the equipment and the community building kind of practice that you guys can get together with this. I think this is awesome. Liquid jazz. I imagine it in a jazz club, actually. I think that'd be pretty cool, having a jazz band in the background and big table, everyone relaxing, and a couple of those rocking on the table, getting the wine ready. I can envision that. I think that would be a fantastic addition to a good night out.
It would be fun. And a couple of the restaurants now that we have that we're working with this, their goal is to have, a featured liquid jazz wine on certain nights of the week.
Right.
And for them, the wine that they would feature is one they either got a really good deal on and they can make some nice money on, or a wine that they've had for a while that they want to turn the inventory. So it gives them the luxury of featuring that wine, and that would be the wine that would be decanted that night in the Liquid Jazz decanter.
Okay.
So it's not like they're running around every table doing this. So if you want the Liquid Jazz decanter on your table and you want your wine decanted that night, this is the featured wine that it's going to be is for that night. So it gives them the luxury of either moving inventory that they'd like to get out, or if you get the rep comes in and gives you a really good deal on a wine, you can get that one out there and turn some cash.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I mean, with the business side of things as well, Michael, what advice would you give to people that have got an idea, but they've not quite put it down yet or figured out a way of, kind of launching things? What would be your advice as a kind of innovator and an inventor of a product?
Give it a shot. There's a lot of ways out there now, a lot of launch companies, a lot of companies that do your research on them, talk to them, and then just see. And go out and talk to people. Like I did talk to restaurants and wine sales reps beforehand, and like, oh yeah, anything you can come up with that quickens that process. And then I did show a few of them the prototype, and they're like, well, it's not going to look like this, right? And no, it's not. And then again, the other thing, depending on what it is, if it's a product, big part of the selling too is people like the design. I didn't go after the same old, just like a little new twist or turn on it. It's totally radical compared to what it is. And the glasses with the ridges, because our glasses too, we're not traditionally wine is a swirl and we're a rock.
Okay.
So if you rock the wine, it's and then the ideal way, again, traditionally you have the stem glass, you swirl it, you put your nose in and you smell the wine. What we do is you just put your nose over the wine and you rock it. And that's when you get the full aromas. So it fills everything with the aromas of the wine.
It's fantastic.
So we're kind of bucking, tens of thousands of years of traditional wine drinking.
Yeah.
And the newer generation seems to be more receptive than some of the older generation, but we're working on them.
No, that's good. And also it's great that you guys are actually the faces of the business and going out there and talking about it as well, especially on like podcasts like this. This is a start now of a journey of personal brand building, and there's nothing more important these days than actually building that trust, building that warmth and that kind of community spirit of actually getting out there and telling your story of what brought you to what you're doing. I think that's part of people buy from people, right? So I think a lot of the time you're going to start selling them because people like you guys and want to invest in what you're doing. So I think it's great. Wonderful. All right. Well, it's been a wonderful chat. And, I think this is going to be a fantastic product, and I can see it in many, many restaurants. So I appreciate you both for attending this conversation and sharing it with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Appreciate it.
Vanessa and Michael, thank you. And everyone, thanks very much for tuning in, and take care for now. See you next time. Cheers.